Mark Cuban really said this and has got a lot of Mavericks fans in their feelings. But it's that time of year where Mark Cuban's done with his summer vacations, and now it's time for the podcast world tour, where he goes from podcast to podcast, and where he typically gives a lot of good insight, tells stories about what goes on behind the scenes that fans like you and I just aren't that privy to. It's typically a good listen, but almost always he always finishes it up with either a horrible take or a soundbite that is almost always taken out of context. And just the other day on Gilbert Arenas' podcast, Mark Cuban had a lot to say about Luka Doncic, the Los Angeles Lakers, Patrick Dumont, and as well as the billboard of Luka that's seen all around the AAC. So in this video, we're going to take a look at what Mark Cuban said on this podcast, break down all of it, give it some insight, and see why are there billboards of Luka all around Dallas. But how's it going, everybody? My name is Marcel Martin. This is Mavericks Digest, bringing you the latest news on everything Mavericks related. And before we get started with today's video, we're currently sitting at 21,678 subscribers. I just want to thank you guys so much for all the support all summer long. You guys have been amazing. We're one day closer to the start of the NBA season and even one day closer to preseason. But if you want to be up to date on everything Mavericks related all summer long as we're finishing up the summer, make sure you subscribe. But like I said, Mark Cuban is on his world tour of podcasts, and about a week ago, we went over how Mark Cuban went on the DLLS podcast, and we got a lot of good information out of Mark Cuban, talking about the Dallas Mavericks, the Luka Doncic trade, how he felt about it, what were his thoughts on how things should actually operate, and we got somewhat of an answer on what is his relationship like with Nico Harrison, which is non-existent. But there is a relationship there with Patrick Dumont, and we'll get to that later in this video. But the first thing we gotta talk about is what Mark Cuban said that's got a lot of Mavericks fans upset. We're just gonna dive right into it. Mark Cuban on Luka Doncic. Off the court, love Luka to death. On the court, F him. And I was like, yeah, I totally get it. Now, obviously, there's so much more behind this quote. If you just look at this by itself, yeah, it looks bad. It's like Mark Cuban's trying to have a viral moment. I mean, yeah, he probably was, but I understand where he's coming from. It's always going to be love for Luka Doncic, not even as a Mavericks fan, as a basketball fan. If you enjoy basketball, then you obviously are a fan of Luka Doncic. If he's not playing against you, you love him. And if he's on your team, you love him even more. But whenever the Dallas Mavericks are going to play the Los Angeles Lakers, yeah, we're trying to get a win. We're trying to get a dub out of it. And I know there's a lot of Mavericks fans out there that are probably still going to root for Luka Doncic even when he plays the Dallas Mavericks, and I totally understand it. But to put things into perspective, if it's Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals, and we need one more win to make it to the finals and we're playing the Lakers, yeah, I'm sorry, Luka, but I'm trying to see another finals run. I'm trying to get another parade in Dallas. No hard feelings. It is what it is. And Mark Cuban has also said this to Luka himself. So yes, this quote completely taken out of context. He said it to Luka before. We all know it's all love, but that's how it should be. I mean, the NBA is like a brotherhood. A lot of players have said it. It's like a fraternity. And even though players get traded, things don't always work out, there's almost always still love between owners and players, especially when it comes to Mark Cuban and Luka Doncic. And even Mark Cuban knows himself, when it comes to the Lakers, there is no love lost. I mean, he even said he had to get rid of his high school uniform because the colors reminded him of the Lakers. Dramatic, yes, but that just shows you that when it comes to being a competitor and trying to win, that's where Mark Cuban's head's at. But like I said, this is a odd thing to just say off the cuff. It's of him, again, trying to have a viral moment, but like I even tweet out, said, I definitely get it. But there's some other stuff that we got from that podcast. Mark Cuban said Michael Finley took Luka Doncic's beer away because it's not cool to do an interview with a beer. Michael wasn't worried about he's going to gain weight or any of that stuff. If he didn't do it, if he didn't do it, I would have done it. So a little insight on the infamous Luka Doncic recovery beer situation about 2 seasons ago. When we made the finals, Luka Doncic was in the locker room with a beer. Michael Finley came over and took it. And at the moment of that happening, a lot of fans are like, why are you taking Luka's beer? Like, what's going on? And then we fast forward to when Luka gets traded, like, oh, they had a problem with all these narratives being floating around, and here's Mark Cuban clearing the air. It's because he was about to go up on the podium for an interview, and it wouldn't look super professional if Luka's up there with a beer. I'd argue that I personally would not care. Luka Doncic is about to get his first finals appearance. Let the man be up there answering questions with a beer. Who cares? He's Luka Doncic. However, it clears up the air that there really wasn't a big worry about his weight, especially from Mark Cuban. And from the last podcast, we did learn that Mark Cuban and Nico Harrison don't really see eye to eye, meaning that they don't have the same ideas as well as the same vision as when it comes to Luka Doncic. Whereas we've heard Nico Harrison had a problem with Luka's weight and the way that he manages recoveries, where obviously Mark Cuban had no problem with it. So there's a little bit of clarity, a little bit of a backstory getting cleared up for fans like you and I. But there was more that was said on this podcast, and here's the long one that we're going to break down. Mark Cuban has seen Luka Doncic's greatness up close since draft night, and he believes what makes him special is something only a handful of all-time legends have ever had. On the Arena podcast with Gilbert Arenas, Cuban broke down why Luka isn't just a star scorer, he's a rare basketball mind with the size to match. Mark Cuban said they see the game in their brain, 3 moves ahead. Luka's putting the ball where it's supposed to be before it happens. Lots of guys have that ability, but not the size. Luka does, Cuban explained, and I'm going to just stop right there and say yes. That is the beauty and the genius that is Luka Doncic, and maybe the reason why this team really struggled to go far in the postseason, because there really wasn't another player on the court that could match Luka's IQ, knowing where to put the ball, getting guys set up. Sure, Luka can move all the chess pieces, but those chess pieces were either missing shots, missing passes, turned the ball over. We saw it time and time again, and then obviously 2 seasons ago, everything was working. Everything was just falling into place. We made the finals. Unfortunately, the vision that Mark Cuban had wasn't the vision that Nico Harrison or the owners had, and we are where we are now. However, all this that Mark Cuban's saying is absolutely true about Luka Doncic. And if we continue, he says, at 6'6", likely taller, Doncic sees above defenses, combines elite vision with IQ, and dictates the game like a chess master. That's why Cuban compared him to other oversized playmakers like LeBron James, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Kawhi Leonard. Luka's resume backs it up. 5 straight All-NBA first-team selections before his Lakers move, 4 playoff runs in 5 years, and a trip to the 2024 NBA Finals with Dallas. For Cuban, it's simple. Luka is one of one. A big guard with unmatched feel, vision, and impact. So a lot of high praise for Luka, rightfully so. I mean, Mark Cuban's been watching Luka Doncic for the last 7 years up close and personal. Us fans have also seen it up close and personal for the last 7 years. So yes, a lot of good praise from Mark Cuban. That also shows that there's no love lost, that they're still on good terms, no matter if he said, off the court, I love Luka. Off the court, F him. Like, we know where Mark Cuban's coming from. He obviously respects Luka Doncic. We heard his take on the trade and how he would have had it done. We all get it. But one thing that we definitely got to take a look at is this billboard situation going around Dallas. For those that aren't in this city, or for those that don't know, there has been Overwatch billboards popping up all around the AAC that shows Luka Doncic. And if you don't know, Luka is one of the best players in the world when it comes to Overwatch. I myself play Marvel Rivals, but hey, if Luka wants to play Overwatch, he can play Overwatch. And if we take a look right here, here's one of them. Luka Doncic takes over Dallas with a giant Cowboys Never Die billboard right on Nowitzki Way by the American Airlines Center. And I think this is absolutely hilarious. At the time of this recording, I actually saw another poster on my way home. It was in a different place. I was trying to take a picture. It didn't come out clear, but I think this is hilarious. I understand why some people may be upset. I also find it very, very funny. But then there was another one that they actually tried to have taken down. The Mavs weren't happy with the Luka Doncic Overwatch billboard in Dallas. Ownership forced it to be moved after saying it was too close to the arena. And I'm sorry, I just got to take a laugh at that because that is hilarious. Obviously, a lot of people are still upset by the trade, whether you wanted him gone or you didn't want him gone. You feel whatever type of way you feel. Me personally, I always believe that laughter is the best medicine, and if another company like Blizzard wants to promote their game Overwatch with Luka Doncic, they can put a billboard anywhere. So yeah, put it by the AAC. That is absolutely hilarious. But on a more serious note, Mark Cuban did give us some insight on Patrick Dumont and how that inner working should be going moving forward. If we take a look right here, Mark Cuban on Patrick Dumont saying, I know he cares. I have no doubt in my mind that he wants to win a championship, but he's not me. He's going to do it his own way. And yes, he will do it his own way. He's not you, Mark Cuban, and I'm not going to sit here and say Mark Cuban was the best owner, made all the best decisions. I will defend Mark Cuban and say that his time being in charge of the Mavericks, every decision he made was for the Dallas Mavericks first. He always had the team's success at the front of his mind with every decision, whether it was a good one or a bad one. Every move he made was to help the team get better and to stay competitive. He's also said many times how he's only ever turned a profit once while owning the Dallas Mavericks, showing that he really did prioritize trying to win, even though he may not have done it the right way. But also knowing that Patrick Dumont just traded Luka Doncic, he has a lot to do to make up for fans to really trust in his vision, as well as Nico Harrison, but the Dallas Mavericks aren't in a bad spot. I'm not trying to say that we're worse off now. If you think so, let me know in the comment section. I think that we are good, just in a weird situation that will take time to unfold and get better. But yes, Patrick Dumont will try to win in his own way. As long as everybody's on board with any move that may or may not happen, I think we're in a good spot. But the last thing about Patrick that Mark Cuban said was, Mark Cuban says the Mavericks currently operate like a triangle with Patrick Dumont making the final decision. It's Nico talking to Patrick and me talking to Patrick, and it's his job to assimilate all that and make a decision, which is something that probably should have been happening from the jump. And I know we've talked about it on this channel, how when Mark Cuban sold the team, he couldn't have it in writing that he would still be in charge in some capacity. He only owns about 29% or 25% of the team, so he is a minority owner. He doesn't have a lot of say. And I've always said Patrick was probably duped by Nico. He was probably tricked into just going along with the trade, assuming that it was an okay trade. But the only thing that could have stopped this was if Patrick talked to his minority owner and say, hey, I just bought the team from you. Nico, that you put in charge, wants to trade Luka Doncic. Is that the right move? I just saw him play in the finals. Should I trade? That's all you had to do, Patty. That's all you had to do. Hit up your boy Mark and be like, hey, is this a good move? But hey, I'm not regretting anything. We are where we are now. It is what it is. But it's good to know that the front office is trying to stay better with their communication, have a better lines of communication, so future heartbreak doesn't happen. We know that the billboards are still popping around Dallas, which is hilarious, as well as Mark Cuban and Luka Doncic still having some love. But let me know in the comment section down below. Do you think Mark Cuban should continue to go on podcasts so we can hear more crazy stories like this? Or do you just want basketball to come back? Because that's where I'm at. I just want to see Cooper Flagg, I want to see Anthony Davis, D'Angelo Russell, all these guys play, and we're just one day closer. But let me know what you think in the comment section down below. We can have a conversation about it. But that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you for watching the video. Make sure to check out our Twitter and Discord. Links in the description below. And as always, y'all take care. Drink water. Peace.